Welcome into another episode of Garbage Time Fantasy Football. I am your host, Ron Seymour, joined today by JJ LaPlante and Ryan Warner. How you doing today, boys?
Good.
Excellent.
And you are not hearing a mess up. Yes, we are doing a second show this week. We are hoping to do 2 shows a week right up until football season starts, and we are going to start our divisional breakdowns. And if my math adds up, we do 2 a week, and that should be done right about the time football season starts.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait.
We are starting today with the AFC South, which is where we should start. I don't know why, but it is.
Least exciting, the most exciting.
It is. Statting it out, I realize that this is one of the least exciting divisions.
I certainly concur. Looking through the top players, there's nobody that. There's a couple good guys, but
there's a couple guys. I mean, Derrick Henry for one, and the Titans are obviously probably the most fantasy relevant team out of this division, I would say.
Potentially.
Then you got people. Then you got like Jacksonville, who see what they do with rookie quarterback. The Texans without Deshaun Watson, and the Colts with Carson Wentz. So lots of moving pieces in this division this year. And we could probably just jump right into it, boys, right? Like, I don't think there hasn't been much for news lately. Not anything.
I'd just like to bring up that Davante Adams is talking about playing with Derek Carr again. So I would not mind if he got traded to the Raiders. So throwing that out there.
Well, I think the Packers still desperately want Aaron Rodgers to come back. And I don't think trading away Davante Adams is going to be the way to do that.
I think they should just let the implosion happen and be shitty for like a decade, and it'd be fine with me.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the Bears fan would love that. Yeah.
Am I a Bears fan?
Is that what happened? All right. All right. We can get started. We will start, like we said, in the AFC South, and we will start with the Tennessee Titans for no other reason than that's first on my list.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's how we go. Does anybody want to start? I know, JJ, you said you did some projections. You didn't get to finish all of them. Work life. You got to love that.
Well, they're finished in my mind. So
they're finished in my mind. And Ryan, how are your projections?
Yeah, I just didn't do projections. I'm just here for the ride. To be honest, I mean,
Ryan's sick. He's got to pass. But
what a slacker!
I was camping for went camping for 5 days. Now I'm dying. I don't know what happened, but if I don't see you guys next week, this may be the last recording that's ever heard of me.
Well, let's make it memorable.
Last hear of your voice.
Just have to play this on repeat. So yeah, I'll just chime in with my thoughts, but yeah, no actual projections done on my end because I suck.
All right, well, let's get into this. JJ, did you actually are the Titans one that you have statted out like on paper?
Yeah, I got numbers for everybody.
All right. So how do you feel about? We'll just start right with Tannehill. Like, what's your projections for Tannehill?
So it's a tough call. The last couple of years, his efficiency has just been insane in that offense. They did lose Arthur Smith to the Falcons, so that's something that bothers me a little bit. But also, I don't have a ton of faith in their defense. I know they added a couple of young guys after the season ended. They lost, their corners. They lost Clowney. They lost a lot of pieces of that defense, which already was kind of suspect. So I don't have a ton of faith that the defense is that improved. So I think they're going to have to throw a little bit this year. I think I had Tannehill throwing for between 37 and 3,900 yards and around 30 touchdowns. Now, obviously, he got a big upgrade with Julio, but they're still going to want to pound Henry, so his volume is probably going to be similar to what it's been the past couple of years. So I don't think that with that he can break 4,000 yards. What are your thoughts?
I got him a little bit higher than you. You said like around 3,900. I've got him at 45.
Wow.
Yeah, I got their passing volume. You got to remember there is the extra game this year.
Yeah.
So that's only like I want to say it was something around 250 yards per game, which isn't anything crazy. I got him for 35 touchdowns. Like you said, the efficiency is just crazy for this offense. I know they lost their offensive coordinator, but I'm pretty sure the guy that's coming in is going to try to model that same exact thing. And a lot of the reason they're so efficient is because of Derrick Henry. So, they have to try to stack the box to stop him. With the extra game, you brought up the suspect defense. I think they do have to pass a little bit more this year than they would have in previous years. Not to mention Derrick Henry. I know he's a monster, but he is 27. His workload, I'm sure they don't want him carrying the ball 380 times. I've only got him for 325, which is still a lot of carries. I still got him being a monster for this year. Derrick Henry 325 for 1,690 yards and 14 touchdowns. And what's crazy is that 14 touchdowns is like his lowest for a year since he's been like the full-time starter. So it just feels weird to say 14 touchdowns, and that's projecting him low. Like,
Yeah. So I mean, the Titans they promoted from within. I think Todd Downings was their tight end coach. So, tight end coach is going to want to run the ball. So, I mean, they're definitely going to pound him. I kind of, in this these offseason podcasts, I've kind of been skeptical that running back can take that kind of load 3 years in a row. I mean, even if you go back to this dude's high school numbers, he's getting just insane carries.
yeah.
And at some point, I mean, it's kind of like the Tom Brady talk, but at some point, he's got to slow down and wear down.
Right.
So I kind of am not as high. I know Joe's very high on Derrick Henry this year. I'm not as high on him. Something's telling me, him and Travis Kelce, something's telling me that this year they're going to get hurt. I don't know what it is, but
just got that feeling, gut feeling. Sometimes you got to go with that gut feeling,
Yeah.
I agree with Derrick Henry. Like I said, he is 27. He's definitely going to start falling off at some point. And it might be that people draft him too high this year because he might take a step back. And the thing is, though, I projected him to take a step back. Not a huge step back, but these numbers are a step back for Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. Ryan, how do you feel about Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry? You're muted. You're still muted.
Ooh, he's getting chit-chatted.
He's getting yelled at.
Sorry, my wife's playing with the kid up there, and it's getting a little rambunctious.
He had his pee-pee slap.
Yeah. I think JJ's a little on the low end with Tannehill, especially if with Henry taking a dip. I think he does as well. Just that volume, that's tough to maintain for an extended period of time. Tannehill did do 3,800 yards this past season, another game in the midst, along with Henry taking a step back. I think Ron's number might be a little bit closer. I could see like 4,300. 33 touchdowns last season. He has Julio now. So I think you could probably see that comparable. And then, like I just said, I think Henry does take a step back. I'm actually not super high on drafting him. Like, I don't think I would take him. I mean, I could be dead wrong. Same with Kelsey. Like, but I'm kind of on JJ's team with that I'm kind of weary of both of them.
Right.
I think there's another running back in this division that tops Derrick Henry fantasy points wise this year.
Johnathan Taylor.
That's the one.
I'm big on John Taylor this year.
I didn't even look to see what do I got their points at. Let me check that real quick. Gotta move you guys over to my other screen. Oh, I still got Derrick Henry in head, but not by a whole lot. It's something like right around 50 points for the year. Derrick Henry doesn't get that receiving work. You know what I mean? And it's not that I got Johnathan Taylor said a lot of receiving work either, but
Well, and John Taylor had that weird phase with the Colts were using Himes a lot. I don't think we go through that phase again. So I think he's going to see more work this season.
maybe.
Boost his value.
All right, so we'll go on to the wide receivers here for the Titans. The two main ones, obviously, AJ Brown and Julio Jones. Josh Reynolds is number 3 on their depth chart currently, and Anthony Ferkser is slated to be their starting tight end at the moment. Currently, I have AJ Brown with 148 targets, 95 receptions, 1,130 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And I got Julio with 119 targets, 80 receptions, 904 yards, 9 touchdowns. I wanted so badly to get Julio into that 10 touchdown range, but I don't think he gets there. I don't think he gets it.
So where are those 4,500 yards going if you only got one 1,100 yard receiver and that's it?
I know they'll use more tight ends and other wide receivers. I don't stat every single player. I don't know why I didn't. I planned on putting more into Darrington Evans, the backup running back. I think they sprinkle him into the pass game a little bit more. I think a lot of the rest of it come through from auxiliary pieces getting, a couple hundred yards on the season.
Yeah. I don't know. AJ Brown, dude is a beast. His knee worries me a little bit because they're saying he's kind of still getting over his surgery. He had pretty significant surgery in the off season. So he's still recovering from that. He's kind of a genetic specimen though, so I assume he'll be ready by the season. I think Brown will have a little more yards. I like him to more in the 1,300 range. And Julio, I think he fits pretty well in this offense because he's really good at yak. Historically, I know he can go up and get it, but he's really good after the catch. And this offense really uses the play action to put the receivers in space so they can make moves and get downfield. So I think both these guys go for 1,000 yards as long as they're healthy. So
I think that was part of my in my head as the ranking is Julio Jones has been banged up and he's getting older. AJ Brown has missed games every year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I could have very easily put AJ Brown at more like 160 targets, over 100 receptions, and probably closer to 1,300 yards. But I think he misses at least a game and a half maybe, and it drops him down just a little bit.
Yeah, they're gonna. I don't know. A lot of people are really high on the Titans, and I think they have potential. They could be great. They could have the best record in the AFC. I don't know. I don't have a ton of confidence in their defense. So
here's what I believe about the Titans from a fantasy aspect. I think most of your main players on that team will be very consistent for you for fantasy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if any of them. I mean, Derrick Henry is going to have his games where he's just beast mode. But other than that, I don't know if right. I don't know if anybody else has that. Any given week, just that monster game. But I don't think any of them really kill you on a week-to-week basis either. It is how the Titans are. They are very consistent. You know what you're going to get. Very good pieces to have on your teams, just not that weak winning upside outside of Derrick Henry. Ryan?
Yeah, so not muted this time. No. Okay. Yeah, I see AJ Brown probably a little bit higher. I think I put him in the 1,200 range, 13 maybe. Started 14 games this past season, finished with 1075. I think Julio goes up over 1,000, maybe finally breaks that 10 TD barrier that he kind of struggles to get by usually. But I think we could see both of them up over 1,100 yards this season. He's gonna be those two are gonna be the two main guys for Tannehill, and all those yards that have to go somewhere. So I think it's gonna be a monster season for both of them.
Yeah. The tight end, Anthony Ferkser, I don't know much about the player, but he does step into a role that has been used quite a bit. I gave him 95 targets, 59 receptions, and 723 yards. Tannehill likes his tight ends. The Titans felt okay with letting Jonnu Smith walk, which means they must have at least some faith in Anthony Ferkser. So I feel like he could step in, obviously not be Jonnu Smith, but at least be a week-to-week streamer possibly for the tight end position.
I think he's got some pretty good upside, and he
Yeah.
attended. He went to Kittle's tight end university. So
Oh, see,
Yeah.
I like I said, I didn't know much. I don't know much about the player Anthony Ferkser.
he's I mean, he's not like a six. I think he's like 6'2", 6'3", but he's like 250 solid, and he's kind of like Smith, where he's physical after the catch. So, I mean, I definitely can see you got him statted out 700. Yeah, I mean that looks right to me. Which, I mean, I think that would probably be what, top 10, 12 tight ends if we look at 2020 stats. So I think that's actually pretty accurate right there.
What, mine?
Yeah, I mean, that looks right to me.
Hell yeah. JJ stamp of approval. I like it. All right, we will move on. We will get right into anything else for the Titans?
Nope.
All right. Next on my list would be the Indianapolis Colts. Again, just because that's who's next on my list. They got newly acquired Carson Wentz as their quarterback. For their running backs, the three main ones are Johnathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and they brought back Marlon Mack. Wide receivers T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell, and their tight ends Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox. These are all the people that I feel like will either be good fantasy people or will steal value from some of the other people. That's who I stat out. So with Carson Wentz, I know I talked about him on a previous episode. I believe it was the sleeper episode or potential breakout. I don't remember which one, but I think Carson Wentz is going into one of his best situations that he's ever been in. He's reuniting with Frank Reich. I got him throwing for 388 completions, 4,420 yards, and 42 touchdowns.
Damn.
Yeah. I think he has a really good year. I think this offensive line is going to be stellar for him, and he's going to show why he was an MVP candidate that 1 year under Frank Reich before he got injured.
Okay.
And one rushing touchdown. One.
So I mean, I like Wentz's upside too. I think he rebounds. I don't think he's going to throw 40 touchdowns. I think they want to run the ball. And I think his numbers will look kind of similar to Phillip Rivers last year, maybe a little better. Obviously because he's still, in his 20s, in his prime. Maybe he's 30 now, but somewhere in his late 20s or early 30s. I mean, I don't see 42 touchdowns, but I think the yardage is probably pretty accurate, 4,400 yards. I think he'll run a little bit more than that. He's got some some pretty cool highlights of him busting out of sacks against the Redskins, and he's a better scrambler than people think. But because he's always in Philly, his last couple of years, he was always under pressure. He could just not get away. So I think he
Right.
can get moving a little more. So I think, yards wise, that's right. And I'm thinking like low 30s as far as touchdowns, like 31, 32 maybe.
I think the reason I have his rushing numbers a little bit lower is because of how good I think this offensive line is phenomenal. He's not going to have to get away as much. He'll be able to throw the ball more. Plus, they're going to run the ball a little bit more. So I think that's why I kept his rushing numbers. And he's never been like a breakaway runner. Like, yeah, he always escapes the sacks and gets like, 5-6 yards here or there, but he's not breaking away and getting
they're
25 yards.
They're not calling design runs to Carson Wentz.
Right. So that's kind of where was my thinking around all of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like his upside in any mock draft you do right now. He's always there late. Like he'll go undrafted in some drafts. Yeah. So, I mean, I got no problem with that.
We'll move on to the running backs. I bet this is where we have quite the disparity. I know you're super high on Johnathan Taylor. I'm actually, you can see my numbers. I'm not low on Johnathan Taylor at all. I got him getting 260 attempts for 1,248 yards, 10 touchdowns, 27 receptions for 309 yards and a touchdown. The reason the receptions are low is because I have Nyheim Hines just eaten up out of the backfield on third downs and passing down work with 81 receptions for 884 yards and 5 touchdowns. So how do you feel about Johnathan Taylor, guys?
Brian, you start.
Yeah, Brian, you start.
All right, I will. So I zoned out there for a minute. How many yards did you have him going for, Ron?
1,248.
All right, and that was off of like 250, you said?
260, yeah.
260. Okay, that's not too. I think he'll be a little bit higher than that. Last season went for almost 1,200 off of 230. So I think with the additional carries, I think we could see him hit the 1,400 mark probably, maybe in that ballpark. Only 11 touchdowns last season. I'd like to see him be a little bit more, but like you said, and I mentioned it earlier, Hines does make me a little nervous. He had those few games where he just kind of throttled Taylor's fantasy value and kind of stole a lot from him. But I think Johnathan Taylor could be probably top 3 running back this upcoming season. I think we're going to get a big year out of him.
I think a lot of his rushing will be good. And I have Marlon Mack right now statted for 140 attempts. They brought him back. I don't think they would have brought him back just to not use him. I know it's a good depth piece, but I still think they'll give him some work. I would, if Marlon Mack didn't come back, Johnathan Taylor would have easily been over 300 attempts for me. So, and probably closer to 1,500 yards. But I think Marlon Mack being there steals a lot of his opportunity to really have that breakout season.
I disagree, and I think Marlon Mack was brought back on $1 million contract because he knows the offense and he's shown he's capable. But I don't think you can deny the speed, strength, and ability of Johnathan Taylor. I think he's going to get 20 carries a game. I think they're going to D up like they did last year and then run the ball with Taylor, control the clock, and look for Carson Wentz to be efficient. I got Taylor projected at 1,500 yards plus and 14 to 16 touchdowns. I think he has a really good year. I think Joe's take that Aaron Jones is going to top him is what some might call idiotic. And I'm looking forward to winning that bet. I have a lot of faith in the kid. I think he's durable, and I think he's definitely top 5 running back this year, RB1. So
So essentially, is what it's coming down to is what you believe about them bringing back Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
Because I would be right aligned with you if Marlon Mack wasn't there, but like you said, he does know the offense. He, he's proven that he can do it. Like he was a fantasy star when he was the running back. So that's why it worries me.
I mean, he's going to get carries. He's going to get carries every game, but I don't think it's going to be, it looks like you got him just under 10 carries a game on average. I think there's going to be games where he has like 4 carries, 6 carries. Like he's going to spell Taylor on some drives, but I just think that
I've got him at 15 carries a game.
Mac? No, you got Taylor at 15, right?
Oh, Taylor at 15. Yeah.
I think Mac's going to get like 5 to 7 carries a game and spell him on a couple series, and then he's obviously their safety net if Taylor gets hurt. But I just think he's going to get the work.
I got him at 8. Joe just mentioned in the. Did you see it? He just mentioned in the group chat that Taylor's stats are high.
I'll tell him I was just singing his praises.
That's funny that he would send that right now.
Like he knows.
Like he knows what we're doing. He wanted to be in on this conversation. He should have been on the podcast.
That's true.
Why did he just send a picture of drugs?
I don't know. Hold on.
Oh, is that like him saying hi?
It's marijuana because they're high.
Marijuana.
I get it.
Ron, you're so old. Marijuana.
Marijuana.
That marijuana. They're doing the marijuana. Yeah, Joe just sent us
what do you want me to say?
Weed.
At Mary Jane?
There you go.
Okay, we'll move on to garbage time. We'll move on to the wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, and Paris Campbell. I have my top wide receiver for this team will be Michael Pittman. Who do you guys got as your top?
Pittman. And I got his yards a significant chunk higher than where you have him. I think he's going to go for over 1,000. I got him for about 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think he is one of the second-year wide receivers that's going to break out. He looked, just seeing him play in the playoffs too, he looked really good. And you could tell he just really matured last year. And this year, he's coming in knowing the offense. He's got his off-season program and everything. And I think him and Wentz kind of had that fun about the jersey numbers, but I think they'll have a pretty good chemistry. And I think he's probably going to be the one. And you got Hilton as a threat over the top. He's kind of the sneaky guy that catches the deep ball. And I think that can help open up a lot over the middle for Pittman. So I think he's probably the number 2 in this offense to Johnathan Taylor, in my opinion.
Who do you think's going to finish the first wide receiver, Ryan?
I'm nervous to say Pittman just because of how much he struggled last year, even with Paris Campbell being out all season. He kind of never truly broke out. Got more than I think you top 60 yards like once. So I think it still goes to T.Y. Hilton. I think Pittman you're still looking at might be the wide receiver 2 or 3 in that offense. I'm not big on him as a breakout candidate.
Ooh,
spicy.
Spicy.
I like Pittman. Maybe not quite as much as JJ. I think my main problem with it is I think Wentz is going to come in here and just have so much time. I know I keep mentioning the offensive line, but having an offensive line like this changes your game. Like, it gives you more freedom. He's going to be able to sit behind that line and actually go through his projections. I don't think he'll have to hyper target one of these guys. And that's kind of why all of their stats of mine are pretty close. Because I just believe that he'll be able to sit back there, go through his projections, and find the open guy.
Progressions.
I said progressions, didn't I?
You said projections.
he's projecting who's going to get open first, so he's going through. Saved it.
Yeah.
But as you see, I got T.Y. Hilton at 57 receptions for 663 yards, Michael Pittman at 82 for 884, and Paris Campbell at 69 for 795, and they're all right around the 6 to 8 touchdown range.
So I'll say this: if Carson Wentz is throwing 42 touchdowns, T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman are going to the Pro Bowl, because I assume they're going to be the ones that are getting the bulk of those. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of mocks, and I like where Pittman's falling right now. I think it's a safe zone to take a flyer on him. My theme of this offseason has been take running backs early. And then those kind of second tier receivers that have the potential to break out, the CeeDee Lambs, Pittman, guys like that. So I got a good feeling about him this year.
Pittman's upside is probably the highest out of the 3 wide receivers. He's the one that could take my projections and just leave him in the dust. I can't get myself there quite yet without, new quarterback. I know Carson Wentz knows the system because it's Frank Reich, but and we don't know who he'll have that rapport with. He could just as easily come out and him and T.Y. Hilton could just click.
Oh, absolutely.
And all of a sudden T.Y. Hilton's getting all the work and Michael Pittman's not. So it was hard to project any one of these guys as a real breakout candidate. I think out of the 3, Michael Pittman has the best shot. And then I would follow it by Paris Campbell. And I think T.Y. Hilton is the veteran presence that gets the occasional deep shot. And then the tight ends, we got Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox. Neither one of these guys are super game breakers. I think Mo Alley Cox is the one who should be starting.
Yeah.
He started a couple games last year and just was a monster because he is a monster. He's something like 6'7" and I don't know, 5,000 pounds or something. Dude's huge.
Classic basketball tight end.
Right, yeah. And when he was the unquestioned tight end out there, he put up good games even for fantasy. But I just don't believe that's how they're going to do it. Jack Doyle's still there. So I've got them kind of canceling each other out a little bit. Again, streaming options if possible. But
yeah, I probably won't draft either of these guys. There's going to be games where one of them has 2 or 3 touchdowns and, they'll be the DFS play of the week. But, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of consistency at tight end here. I think it's going to be a game-by-game type of deal. So,
Ryan, are you on online with us with that? Or
Yeah, pretty much exactly what you guys said.
All right, so if nothing else about the Indianapolis Colts, we'll move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence pretty high there.
Yeah, that's probably going to change. Mostly the touchdowns and probably a little bit of the yards. I statted him out, and after I did it, I kind of felt like I statted him out more to his upside. But I got thinking about the defense, which isn't very good. They didn't do a lot to address it this offseason either. So it might just come out of necessity. He's got to throw the ball. So he might end up. So I got him with 371 completions, 4,400 yards, and 30 touchdowns. And like I said, that may be a little high, but that's kind of where my projections came out. I mean, again, I'm kind of new at doing projections like that, so I'm hopefully each year it gets better and better. And
I don't think that's that far off, Ron. they're gonna let him wing it. You know, he's the franchise. They want him to get those reps in. I think Herbert set the you have 30 touchdowns last year. Herbert set the rookie record at 31, I think it was. So I think he may throw more than 13 picks. I think it's, they're gonna let him learn. So
Yeah.
and he's got decent receivers. I don't think he has that one superstar, but he's got three what I would call number two receivers right now. Like he has three receivers that I think could be a number two in any offense. So
Right.
he's got some weapons, and he's got his boy ETN there to catch his checkdowns. So I think that's probably pretty accurate yards and touchdowns wise. I don't think you're that far off.
Nice.
Yeah, so I can see it. I'm pretty sure that would be a record, the 4,400 for a rookie quarterback.
Extra game.
But
all those records are getting broken.
Yeah.
Yep. So like JJ said, extra game. And the Jaguars are a team that got almost 4,000 passing yards last year with Minshew and Glennon in. So it's not that far fetched.
Hold on, I'm putting his stats up higher now.
Yeah. So looking at that, it's actually not that far fetched to think that a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, if he performs like everyone thinks he will, to hit that 4,400 mark in an offense that managed to get 3,900 with the carousel of subpar quarterbacks they had last season. So it's actually not that far off. I'm with you there.
All right, so we'll move on to the running backs, and this is probably one of the more difficult ones to stat out. This is 100% on what you believe. I did a little bit of research, listened to some more other podcasts and some of the coach speak, which I know isn't always good to do because sometimes coaches just say things for the lulz.
Right.
But I'm beginning to believe that James Robinson is going to be the first and second down back, and ETN's going to be on the field a lot as a wide receiver. These guys, the Jaguars don't really have a tight end to speak of. I don't believe Tebow is going to do anything, even make the roster. Yeah. So I think they do what they said they want to do, and that's have James Robinson be the guy who pounds the rock with ETN spelling him here and there, and then being a heavy pass down usage. I think this team still wants to run the ball a bunch because, I mean, they actually did really well running the ball last year, and they want to take as much pressure off of Trevor Lawrence as possible. So I've got James Robinson at 205 attempts, 943 yards and 8 touchdowns, and then sprinkling in 19 receptions for 221 yards and like a touchdown out of the year. With ETN, 175 carries, 822 yards, only 3 touchdowns, but 80 receptions for 663 yards and 6 touchdowns through the air. I think, especially in the beginning of the season, that ETN could have monster reception numbers until Trevor Lawrence gets more comfortable with his wide receivers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're on. I think I'm just mad at Urban Meyer because had ETN gone to another team, both of these guys would be fantasy studs. But the fact that he went and took ETN and now we'll have him kind of sprinkled in there, it kind of just puts them both in this weird gray area where you don't know what's going to happen and you can't put a lot of stock in either one.
Yeah. But like I said, I do believe in the beginning of the year that James Robinson will end up being the main runner. I think it might shift more towards the end of the year with James Robinson still getting like goal line-ish work. Maybe not all of it, but as you can see, I got him getting more of the rushing touchdowns than ETN. I think that's who he's going to be.
So you have James Robinson just taking a dip of about, looks like 100 yards rushing with the addition of ETN, just because you think he's going to be doing that much, still a majority of the rushing?
I do. I really think I still got him doing for 205 carries, but I do think that a lot of these numbers come from the beginning of the year, and then things are going to switch.
Gotcha.
So I got him for 205 carries, but I wouldn't be surprised if most of those come like 1 through 11. And then most of Travis Etienne's 175 carries come from week 12 on. Like, and their roles kind of switch throughout the year. But they keep, Travis Etienne in OTAs has been working exclusively with the wide receivers. Like, he hasn't been taking like any running back reps. He's been working exclusively with wide receivers through all these mini camps. So either they just already trust him 100% as a runner, or they are legit going to use him as a passing back. So that's where I'm going. I think he's going to be used as the passing down back and James Robinson, the pounder.
All right, I'm gonna give you guys stats of a running back duo in the NFL last year, and you gotta see if you can name them. So, running back one had 146 carries for 656 yards, with 26 receptions for 176 yards. Running back two had 187 carries for 932 yards, 83 receptions, and 756 yards. Who were those two running backs?
Is it Johnathan Taylor and Naheem Hines?
No.
I just thought that's where that was going.
I know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
So that is Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. And this situation kind of reminds me of that. I apologize if you can hear my crying, teething 1-year-old in the background. So Kamara, I think Etienne's going to have like a Kamara role where he's got 10 to 15 carries, and then he gets a bunch of receptions from Trevor Lawrence. I think that's kind of the idea that the Saints have. And then obviously Robinson will get the goal line carries, and maybe, I know Kamara kind of gets a lot of first and second network, but I think it'll kind of balance out to be like the Saints running back situation, somewhere like that. So,
well, I was thinking the Saints running back situation, but I was thinking more from a few years ago, like Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Where Mark Ingram was that first and second down guy, and Kamara was the third down passing work guy. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And both those guys you could use in fantasy. They may have not have been that breakaway. And if either one of these guys gets injured, that other person is going to be elevated into a huge role on a team that I believe is going to score, or at least be in position to score quite a bit. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're all pretty much aligned there.
Yeah. All right. So we will go with, we'll move into the wide receivers. Their three main ones are DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, who they just signed in free agency, and the Visca Chenault. I am fading heavily on DJ Chark. Urban Meyer has come out and legit said, I didn't like his game tape from last year.
Really?
The man, yeah, he said he needs to like bulk up. And a lot of times when wide receivers bulk up, they lose speed. So, and honestly, DJ Chark didn't play that well last year. I understand his quarterbacks weren't great, but he was meant to come out. He had a really good end of the year in 2019. Everyone thought he was going to make this huge leap. He didn't. He was overdrafted last year.
Yep.
I think they brought in Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is a good football player. They brought Marvin Jones in because they want Marvin Jones to be what they wanted DJ Chark to be.
Yeah, and I think, rookie quarter. Well, they knew that in free agency that they were going to draft Trevor Lawrence. So rookie quarterback, you want a reliable veteran receiver that maybe you can lock onto, and I think that's what Marvin Jones probably will be. To me, this wide receiver situation is I can't really put a pin in it. I probably will not take any of them. I like the upside of Chenault, but Marvin Jones' presence scares me. And then DJ Chark could, rebound, and he could have a good relationship with Lawrence. So I really can't place which guy is going to be the guy. I think it is a solid chance that it could be Marvin Jones. It looks like you're projecting him to have a Pro Bowl caliber season. So
Yeah, I got Marvin Jones projected in a good year. I think a lot of that has to do with Laviska Shenault, though. I think Laviska Shenault does have a bit of a breakout year. I mean, I've got him at 840 yards, which would be a breakout for him. I mean, he hasn't really done much of anything at the moment.
Yeah, kind of a weird year for him last year.
Yeah. And I think Shenault breaking out just helps Marvin Jones a lot. No one's going to be having to double Marvin Jones right out the gate. That people don't see him as that threat. I got Marvin Jones at 109 receptions for 1,239 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think he could hit those numbers. I mean, people were projecting him to have a really good season last year, but injuries to Kenny Galladay, the offense just spitting and sputtering. He was on the Lions. All these things are just negatives against him. He'd come out, have a really good season with Trevor Lawrence, and probably have a couple good seasons with Trevor Lawrence. I don't remember what his contract was. And DJ Chark wasn't drafted by this regime.
Nope.
The regime has already come out and, like I said they weren't happy with his game tape. And they brought in Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones's current ADP is the beginning of the 13th round. If you can get a guy with this type of upside in the 13th round, that could win you championships. Like, legit. Yep. Same with Shenault, because if it's not Jones, it's going to be Shenault. One of these two guys, I believe, is going to have a really great season. Shenault is going even earlier, though. Chenault's at the back of the 8th round. Still, though, if you can get someone with that upside,
yeah, you took him in our you took Shenault in our mock draft, right?
Yep. Yeah. Either one of these guys, and with their current ADPs, there's a chance I would grab them both. You're going to know after week 1 or week 2 who's going to be the guy. You're going to know who's getting the targets, who has the rapport with Trevor Lawrence. And they're going far enough in the draft, like apart, 8th to 13th, that you could take them both and figure it out and then just drop the other one.
Yeah, especially if you go, running back heavy early, and then in those mid-tier rounds, you're looking to fill in receivers with upside. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, let me see where Chark is going. Yeah, DJ Chark is going to the back of the 6th. I wouldn't touch him there. I don't believe in DJ Chark, not with all the stuff I've been hearing and the moves they have made. So. All right, and we're not going to talk about the tight ends because until one of them, so I don't have either one of them barely over 300 yards on the season. So
draft Manhurts in dynasty leagues. Other than that, I won't be touching any Jaguars tight ends and redraft.
And now to the black sheep of the family. Do you have any stuff you want to input, Ryan?
No, not really. The only thing I was thinking is I agree with you guys with Shark. I think he takes a big step back. Shenault, I think Marvin Jones showing up could help Shenault in that you might see him in the slot more often. I think he played outside quite a lot last. I think he was like 70% of the time or something like that. He was on the outside. Yeah. So you might see him getting a bit more slot work, and I think a rookie quarterback might be more tempted to throw those shorter routes right in the slot, and you might see Shenault, especially in PPR leagues, kind of his value going up because of that.
Valid point.
It is valid. Yes, it is. All right, we'll move on to the laughing stock of the NFL. I don't know if you guys heard that.
We did.
You did.
Do we have to?
I know, like, I don't even know how to predict.
So I guess
Oh.
my first question is, JJ, who do you predict is going to be the starting quarterback?
Yeah, it's Tyrod. There's just too much of Watson, and he already didn't want to play there. So I think it's Tyrod Taylor runs out there week 1.
Do you think he plays all 17 if he stays healthy and doesn't get stabbed to the chest with a needle?
Probably.
I know they
Probably.
drafted Davis Mills in the 3rd round, I think it was, but
Yeah, I don't know. I know that their head coach there, and Tyrod go way back to all the way back to Baltimore days. So, their off season was, everyone knew that they were going to suck. They sucked really bad last year. And like they were one of the busiest teams in free agency, but they added a bunch of like random veterans and journeymen.
Yeah.
And I just, nothing they did excited me. And they lost Will Fuller, obviously. The running back room is just infuriating looking at your spreadsheet here. Like
it is super infuriating. And that's not even all of them.
Yeah.
Like they had other like actual names on there too. And I'm just like, there's no way. Like, I didn't know what to do, honestly. I went to stat out this team and I'm just like, I don't. So I also, I have Tyrod for the full 17 games. And I got him completing 297 passes for 3,131 yards, 27 touchdowns. And I got him rushing 98 times for 519 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's as far as I could go.
7 picks. I would take a 1 and put it in front of that 7 because that defense is complete garbage, and they're gonna, as much as he can't throw, he's gonna have to throw because they're not gonna be in a lot of games. So.
Here's the thing: he's never really been on any great team, but he's never thrown that many interceptions.
Oh, it's coming.
I'm not saying it couldn't, but I think his highest interception on any one year that he played a full year was 9.
Yeah, and that's why he's a great backup because he doesn't turn it over.
Right.
But
because he'll take off and run before he throws a bad ball.
I just think that they're going to be a dumpster fire, and he's going to throw a bunch of picks. How old is he now? 33, 34?
Oh, I don't even know. Old.
Yeah. Nothing about this team excites me.
What do you like about?
He's actually only 31. He's turning 32 this year.
How do you feel about my projection for him, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to establish a baseline for this team. Like, I don't know where to even start. So it's just bad. Like, I don't think I want any part of the team at all. I don't think I could find any bright spots.
Just thinking about it and talking about it now and realizing how bad I think they're going to be. I mean, I think they're going to be the worst team in the league. I think they'll get up for a couple games, win 2 or 3 games, but I think they'll be picking 1 or 2 in the draft. I do think now looking at it, I think that they probably will put Davis Mills in at some point, maybe around the halfway point in the season when they just know that they're going to be out of it, just to see what they have with him. He was, I think a lot of scouts think his game can translate in the NFL. They're just worried about his health and his low game numbers. So I think Mills will probably get in. But yeah, I won't be drafting any Texans this year. Even Brandon Cooks. Tyrod Taylor can't throw a deep ball, man. He throws the ball like 30 yards. Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll get to the wide receivers. The running backs, David Johnson is far and away probably I don't want to say far away, but I think he's the best one on the team. He played okay last year. I got him for 200 carries and 860 yards, 281 receiving yards. I think Mark Ingram takes a lot of the goal line work. I got Mark Ingram only for 58 attempts, but 7 touchdowns because I think probably 45 of those 58 attempts come from inside the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
He's got next to no receiving work for Mark Ingram. Philip Lindsay has got 125 carries for a little over 500 yards. Honestly, Philip Lindsay, I feel like, has gotten the short end of the stick his entire career after his fantastic rookie season. Like, dude balled out his rookie season, then all the Broncos did was just kept bringing in other people.
Yeah, it really confused me that he went there
Yeah.
and like on a 1-year, $2 million contract. Like, I feel like he could have gone
like to the
I
Jets.
thought, like, the Jets. I thought that the Patriots should have added him and not brought back James White and let Phil Lindsay be the receiving back with them. I thought that would have been a great fit. He just now he's in this mess, and I like Lindsay too. He's he plays a lot of passion. And
you know what I just thought of?
What'd you think of?
Seattle should not have brought back Chris Carson. They should have brought in Philip Lindsay. I feel Philip Lindsay would have been a beast in that Seattle offense.
Only thing is, I don't think he can take like a Johnathan Taylor, Derrick Henry type workload because he's so small. He's, I think should have like an ETN Kamara type role. Not even 200 carries, but
right,
50 to 70 receptions. I mean, he's a good football player. But
I mean, what are the running backs ADPs right now? Like
I don't think any of them are very high.
I mean,
David Johnson is probably the highest.
I mean, is he almost just because of the fact that he might be the one decent player, depending on his ADP, is it almost worth looking at him?
It's an 8th round draft ADP for Johnson.
I mean, so if you want depth at your running back position or someone that a bell cow on your roster, it might be worth.
If you're doing like a 0 RB strategy, you could do worse than David Johnson.
Yeah.
Because you're right, he's going to get the work. Mark Ingram is 16th round. I bet you Lindsay's not even
getting drafted. Yeah.
I think he's ahead of Ingram.
Oh, he is 14th.
Yeah. I think he's gonna. I mean, but David Johnson's. I mean, a lot of people like him because of his pass catching ability. So I don't know. I won't touch the situation. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, me either.
Yep.
Their line sucks too.
Yeah, their whole team sucks. We'll move on to the wide receivers, like JJ said. No one's really all that appealing because Tyrod Taylor's not a very good thrower. But someone has to catch some balls, apparently, I guess. I did give Brandon Cooks 78 receptions for 782 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he's the number 1 according to my projections. So that goes to show you about how I feel about the other wide receivers, Randall Cobb, and they got Kiki QT as their 3rd on the depth chart. So I mean, it's a wasteland. It's a fantasy wasteland.
I don't know. Like they're gonna have to. That's the thing. That they're gonna have to throw the football. Like I don't see how Cooks doesn't get 1,000 yards. I don't want him, but just their sheer terribleness will get him 1,000 yards. I think.
I know. I gave him 126 targets, which was by far the highest percentage of anybody else on the team. And then I believe I gave him something like a 66% for his catch rate. So I don't know. I feel like teams are going to be able to take him away. I think that's my problem with it. Like, I know he's a great wide receiver, but Tyrod Taylor is not going to throw into double coverage.
That's true. And they lost Fuller.
Yeah, that's why they don't get. He doesn't throw interceptions, because if the guy's not wide open, he doesn't throw the ball. He just runs.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
have
go
I
ahead.
do have Jordan Atkins, their tight end, for just under 500 yards. I do feel like that if there is a team that they're playing that is bad against tight ends, that he could be a sneaky play for that week. But again, it's no one that I would feel comfortable playing on a week-to-week basis outside of David Johnson if I went 0 RB.
Yeah, I don't know. Teams are gonna load the box and force Tyrod Taylor to have to throw over, and I
Yeah.
just don't think he's capable. So
Right. Again, this might all change if they end up throwing in a different quarterback or getting a different quarterback. And what kills me is the wide receivers on this team aren't bad. Like Brandon Cooks has always had over 1,000 yards, no matter who he's played with. But he's always played with, quarterbacks, not running backs who like to throw the ball. Randall Cobb, he's getting older, but he's a solid slot option. And Kiki QT has shown flashes.
I'm not blown away by this receiver room. They drafted Nico Collins in the 3rd round too. I don't know how he factors in. He probably will be pretty irrelevant his rookie year, but
yeah, I'm not saying they have like a superstar wide receiver, but it's not
capable.
It's not the worst one you've ever seen. Like,
no, that would be the 2017 Bears.
My only thing is I almost wonder if you see Randall Cobb being more of the go-to guy on this team, being in the slot. Tyrod won't throw a deep ball, won't throw into double coverage. Do you almost see him getting more of the work?
No, because I feel like by that time Tyrod will already have takeoff and run.
Okay.
Like I got Tyrod running for 98 rushes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But I wouldn't be shocked if that's higher. Like that's right on par with his average per year. But I wouldn't be shocked if that reaches more like 115. Just because no one's going to be able to get open. And by the time they do, their shitty offensive line has already let half the defensive line through, and Tyrod's just running around.
Yeah, that's another thing. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. So,
Right.
I could see him knocked out in the first quarter of the season and Mills having to come in.
Right, or stabbed in the lung.
Yeah, that too.
We'll bring that up as much as physically possible.
And he was stabbed in the lung because he cracked his ribs, right?
Cracked his ribs, yeah.
It's just such an insane story. How can you not talk about it all the time?
Right, I know. Oh, snap. That was the last team, wasn't it?
It was.
That's it. So
we made it through.
Early prediction, who wins the division? Who wins the AFC South?
Colts.
Yeah, I got it. Let's go person by person. I got Colts, Titans, Jaguars, Texans in that order.
Yeah, I agree with that order.
All right, I'll be different then. I'll go Titans, Colts, Jaguars, Texans.
You don't have to be different. Like if you believe the same thing, you can believe whatever you believe.
No, I have to be different.
You don't have to be different just for the sake of being different. Now he's going to come back if he's right at the end of the year. I told you. You didn't say shit. You just didn't want to agree with us.
He was just hopped up on nasal spray.
It's funny because that's exactly what I would do if I had.
I know. I know, because it's exactly what I would do too.
I'm a genius.
I told you, even though I was just doing it to be completely different from you guys. I told you. All right. Couple things before we get out of here. Make sure you check out our website, www.garbagetimeff.com. Make sure you go on there, you subscribe, you leave us a voicemail. Make sure you listen on Apple Podcasts, that you give us a review, 5 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, half star. I don't care. Just leave that review. We'd prefer 5 stars. It'd be nice and helpful. Make sure you listen to our what would we call it? Our sister podcast, the
Yeah, we
Garbage
could be a
Time
sister.
Presents MMA. Or sorry, I did that wrong. Garbage Time Presents the MMA podcast. They just put out another new episode. So tune into that. That went up earlier today. Oh yeah. So make sure you check us out. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Simplecast, anywhere you want to find us. We're pretty much everywhere. Like I said, the best way to find us is to go to our website. Go to the website and we'll have all our links there. We'll be on our Instagram. You can leave us messages there. JJ, did you want to shout out what you're doing this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm cheating on you guys and going on another podcast, the Irish Bears show. Actually, Bears fans based out of Ireland, and they got a podcast that they've started up. They're doing pretty well. Have a pretty good following, so just gonna hop on there and talk some Bears football, and maybe I'll bring up what we do around here. So be good.
All right. So make sure you check that out. That's happening on Saturday, I believe. So that should be up sometime on that day.
Maybe. I don't know.
And
I
was
don't know if
called
they're as
what?
efficient as you, Ron, but
Oh, well, not everyone can be me. And that's the Irish Bears podcast, right?
Irish Bears show.
Irish Bears show. So give that a check out, and we're gonna get out of here now. From all of us at Garbage Time Fantasy Football, thanks for listening.
Wow.